In this video, I'm going to explain you what is runway incursion and runway excursion. Firstly, I will explain what is the runway incursion. Runway incursion is an occurrence at an aerodrome involving the incorrect presence of an aircraft, vehicle, or person on the protected area of a surface designated for the landing and takeoff of aircraft. The incorrect presence may be a consequence of a failure of a pilot or vehicle driver to comply with a valid ATC clearance, or their compliance with an inappropriate ATC clearance. In this definition, the surface designated for the landing and takeoff of aircraft refers to the movement area, that part of a towered airport under control by air traffic control, including runways and taxiways. The FAA categorizes a runway incursion using two measures: type and severity. There are three types of runway incursions. Operational incidents occur due to the action of an air traffic controller. Two examples of an operational incident are clearing an aircraft onto a runway when another aircraft is landing or taking off, or issuing a takeoff clearance while another aircraft or vehicle is occupying the runway. Vehicle and pedestrian deviations. These are pedestrians or vehicles entering runways or taxiways without ATC authorization. This deviation could be a vehicle crossing a runway hold marking before receiving ATC clearance. Pilot deviations. Pilots' actions that violate the federal aviation regulation. Examples include entering an active runway, landing, or taking off without clearance. The runway incursion severity measure uses 5 categories that consider an aircraft's speed, proximity, environmental conditions, evasive action taken, and the available reaction time. These 5 categories are: 1. Accident, an incursion that resulted in a collision. 2. Category Alpha, a serious incident in which a collision was narrowly avoided. 3. Category Bravo, an incident in which separation decreases with significant potential for collision, which may require time-critical corrective or evasive action to avoid a collision. 4. Category Charlie, an incident with ample time or distance to avoid a collision. 5. Category Delta, an incident meeting the definition of a runway incursion, but with no immediate safety consequences. How do runway incursions occur? The most infamous runway incursion occurred on March 27, 1977, when 2 Boeing 747 aircraft collided at Los Rodeos Airport in Tenerife. A KLM aircraft was attempting to take off while a Pan Am aircraft was taxiing down the runway, shrouded in fog. All passengers on board the KLM flight and most Pan Am passengers died, with 583 fatalities and 61 survivors. The subsequent investigation cited the cause of the accident as the KLM captain's decision to take off under the mistaken belief that he had received takeoff clearance. While 40 years have passed since that tragedy, it appears we continue to make errors with the potential for similar outcomes. In 2016, the FAA studied runway incursion data, finding that 66% were classified as pilot deviations. Of these, 50% occurred due to the pilot failing to hold short of a runway, failing to follow ATC instructions, or departing without clearance. When investigating the contributing factors, almost 62% of the incidents were due to communication errors, and a further 27% to pilot distraction, inattention, or confusion. The 3 major areas contributing to runway incursions are a failure to comply with ATC instructions, lack of airport familiarity, and non-conformance with standard operating procedures. What we should focus on: As pilots, we have a duty of continuous learning to ensure currency and competence. Here are some focus areas to prevent runway incursion events. Taxi procedures. Towered airports are busy places with considerable distractions. The practice of sterile cockpit procedures is as important when taxiing as when landing or taking off. All non-essential activities and conversations should cease while maintaining situational awareness outside the aircraft. Once you have crossed from the apron or ramp onto the movement area of the airport, no movement or action may be taken by you without prior clearance from ATC. A complete readback is required when a taxi clearance is received, and be sure to write it down or mark it on your airport diagram. While you cannot move without ATC clearance, it remains your decision as pilot in command whether to do so. If you're in doubt or have a concern, you should inform ATC. No penalty accrues to you if you consider you are unable to comply with an instruction safely. Communication. Know your radio equipment, frequencies, and read back expectations. The opportunity for misunderstanding increases when people are broadcasting on the wrong frequencies, not being concise, using the wrong language, and failing to read back key clearances in their entirety. Lights, signage, and markings. See and be seen is a mantra for flight and also when taxiing. Before you start your engine, the rotating beacon must be on. However, you should also switch on all other lights except your landing light when you begin taxiing. Be considerate with your strobes, if they might adversely affect other aircraft. The landing light should be switched on when crossing a runway and cleared for takeoff. Runway excursion. Runway excursions can occur on takeoff or on landing, as well as during taxi. They consist of two types of events. Veer off. Excursion, in which an aircraft departs the physical edges of a runway taxiway. Overrun. Excursion, in which an aircraft departs the end of a runway. Overrun on takeoff. A departing aircraft fails to become airborne or successfully reject the takeoff before reaching the end of the runway. Overrun on landing. A landing aircraft is unable to stop before the end of the runway is reached. Veer off. An aircraft departs the side of the runway after touchdown on landing, or departs the side of the runway during lineup or the takeoff run. In conclusion, airport congestion is unlikely to ease anytime in the future, with air traffic continuously increasing while new airport approvals face delays due to environmental and social pressures. We can expect that the threat of runway incursions will remain, requiring us to be on our guard when flying and taxiing. If in doubt while taxiing, don't be afraid to ask ATC for progressive taxi instructions. Prevent distractions by using sterile cockpit procedures and maintaining situational awareness. Above all, remain conversant with signage. If something feels wrong, stop and ask for assistance. We have a safety obligation to ourselves, our passengers, and our fellow pilots. Let's stay current on the risks and learn the mitigations to prevent runway incursions. Have a safe flight. See you in the other video. Goodbye.